All right, guys, it's week 8. We're nearing the end of this unit, so we only have one lesson we're going to do today, and it's lesson 100. So we'll do that one first day of the week, and then we'll be reviewing for the test, but we'll do that one in class. We don't need to record anything for that. So algebraic addition of integers. So again, we've worked with positive numbers and negative numbers, but we're very comfortable with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing all of that with positive numbers. But there are also negative numbers out there that we work with. So negative integers, again, an integer, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, continuing on, and their opposites. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay. Where we see negative numbers quite a bit is when we're looking at temperature, either in temperature drops or in actual temperature. So if we're starting at 0 degrees and we end up at -10 by the middle of the night or whatever, well, we've dropped 10 degrees, so we're -10 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have -5 and we add 5 degrees, we're now at 0. If we're at 5 and we go down 10, so 5 plus -10 or 5 minus 10, again, I don't love that they use parentheses or the plus sign for positive numbers. If there is no sign, we know it's positive. So sometimes I think this is a little redundant and confusing. And if you put it into your calculator with 2 plus symbols, you're going to get an error message, which we can do -5 plus 5. It's just the 2 plus signs back to back is going to screw up our calculation. So I always try and get it to where we have one symbol in between. So if we're looking at 8 plus -5. 8, again, don't put the, well, if you want to put the positive because they do, I can't get mad if they're doing it, but I just put 8 plus -5. Okay, I like to have only one symbol between my numbers. It just makes it a lot easier versus saying, oh, I'm adding a negative. What is that? Well, if I'm adding a negative, this is the same as saying 8 minus 5. 8 minus 5 you guys have been doing since elementary school. That you can do without even thinking. So once we kind of eliminate the confusion, it becomes a lot easier. 8 minus 5 is 3. And again, if you want to think of, well, I'm 8 to the right, and then I'm -5, so I'm going 5 back to the left. I don't draw out the number line just because it takes a lot of time and becomes more confusing. But if that helps you, especially initially, I'm adding or I'm subtracting, what am I doing? Moving right or left? By all means, you can do that. Just if we have a 20-step problem and you're drawing your number line, it's going to be take you a really long time to get it done. So example 2, if I have -5 plus -3, again, plus a negative is the same as just subtracting, so let's make it a little bit easier. -5 minus 3, so -5 minus 3, I'm -5 and I move 3 more to the left. It's going to put me at -8. It's shown here -5, and then 1, 2, 3 more to the right, -8. If I have -6 plus +6, again, there is no symbol, we know it's positive. So I'm at -6 and I move 6 to the right. This actually puts me at 0. And again, I could rearrange this order to show that. I said 6 minus 0, 6, or 6 plus -0, or 6 plus -6 equals 0. Okay, that may help you kind of see. Well, if I start at 6 and then move 6 to the left, or 6 minus 6, that put me at 0. Okay, so it's the same thing. We can think of it as addition, and then we know we can add in any order. You don't have to do that. It's just I'm pointing out maybe an easier way to do it. If we add opposites, they're always going to equal 0. That can help us out. So 6 plus -6 is the same as 6 minus 6. But since it's a 6 and a -6, it's 0. Just like positive 123 plus -123, those are opposites, so it's going to be 0. So you can remember that rule without drawing out the number line to 123 and then moving back 123. You can just remember that they're opposites, so they add up to 0. Again, an opposite is just it's that far away from the origin. So if we're looking at, here's the example. This is where I don't love drawing out the number line because, as you can see, spend more time just drawing the number line than you do actually answering the question. Okay, but this is the origin. This is 0. So I'm 7 to the left. So the opposite of that means I'm 7 to the right. So -7 and 7, or +7, are opposites because they're the same distance from the origin. And then 10, well, 10 to the right, if we went 10 to the left, that would be -10. This is just kind of a wordy definition of what I told you I like to do. If I have plus -6, I just call it 10 minus 6. Might make it easier. Sometimes if we have like two negative signs, -10 minus -6, well, I'm subtracting a negative. Well, again, let's just get one sign between them to make it easier. So -10, then minus a negative and a negative actually make a positive. So we can rewrite minus -6 as just plus 6. So -10 plus 6 is -4. If you're putting into one note, I think I've told you guys about this, but if you're calculating using at least the Texas Instruments, I know probably some other ones. If you're using negative numbers, use this one down here. If you're subtracting, use this button right here. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we do 5 minus -5. 5 minus -5 should be 5 plus 5, it should be 10. So if I do 5 minus -5, I get positive 10. Ooh, we did it right. If I do 5 and then I do minus and do this one for the negative number, I get an error message because it does not recognize the subtraction next to each other. So we got to make sure we're using, if I'm making a number negative, use this one. If I'm subtracting, use this button right here. That's why I said I don't like that they say 6 plus +6. Well, you get an error message because we don't need two plus signs. We can just do 6 plus 6. Okay. We don't even need a calculator for that. So sometimes all the parentheses and all the symbols, I think, make it more confusing, but that's how they do it 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for whatever reason. But if you're doing it in your calculator, just be aware that we need to make sure we're putting it in properly, not doing symbols, the same symbols back to back, because we're going to get an error message. So if you're making a number negative, use this negative. If it's a positive number, don't put plus, just put in that positive number. Don't say plus 25, just 25 or 6 or 10 or whatever it is. So this one on the calculator, again, let's look at -3 minus +5. -3 minus, if I do +5, again, error message, we can't do that. So -3 minus +5, so just -5, I get -8. So I use this negative symbol, then 3, and then -5, enter, and we get -8. Okay, we'll do those practice set problems together and get to class and start reviewing for the test and go from there.